We are here. And we are Patitos Gang. Today, we're looking at what it costs to govern us. I'm always amazed by the fact that at a time when things are really so difficult for the average Nigerian, many people can't actually eke out 2 decent meals a day. You see a government official going somewhere and still got his 20-car motorcade, running off fuel, all kinds of things. And you wonder sometimes, is there any sensitivity about the people and the... I illustrate often the fact that in the United States of America, the average cabinet minister, because of the standard procedures, is often likely to end up in an economy class in row 23D between 2 fat women when he's flying locally. And indeed, I think it was Lyndon Baines Johnson as president who was shocked that the Secretary for Transportation was coming to work by car. Why are you Secretary of Transport if you're not using the subway? How do you know how the subway runs? But we find that in our country, there's such a disconnect between state and society. Lately, there has been some stuff in the social media about somebody from the first family who traveled somewhere in a presidential jet, and there were debates and all of that. I recall under one of the Republican presidents, the White House Chief of Staff, I think, went to play golf somewhere and used the White House helicopter. The uproar that kicked off. Obviously, he repaid the money, I think almost lost his position and all kinds of things. Now, those are democracies where people are accountable for what they do. But here, I mean, we lost one presidential jet because Abacha's son was going to a party in Kano or something like that. And I don't know what they said happened in the aircraft, that they were fighting or whatever. The plane crashed near Kano. I know, from the military, the Dan Barracks officer, not even the president, who sent from the fleet a plane to go to UK and pick his daughter from school. The examples are so many, to just show that this is real, we're not just talking. Why do we treat public resources the way we treat them when we're in power?
What we have here is a sort of leaders being insensitive to the people they are leading, if I will call them leaders. Anyways, you see, the truth of the matter is that there is nowhere in the world, at least I've tried to look into how other countries operate, that run the way we run our government. You see, an average Nigerian sees government property as his own property because he's seated on that seat, not knowing that someday he will not be sitting on that seat. And because we, the people that are being led, felt also that these people need to be elevated to a certain standard of life. You just mentioned the United States. Very good example. But you come down here, what do we see? So the truth of the matter is that we don't want to narrow this thing down to be they have carried motorcade. I read yesterday, maybe it could have been a fake news or whatever, but it sounds like it's fact that the governor of Anambra State, and I'm saying this thing because I'm outraged, went to Italy, to Rome, because he is a knight in the what they call it, Christian Catholic, in the Catholic Church, with 250 people that followed him. Now his wife came from United States with some people. Now what are we talking about here? I think the typical example is when Peter Obi came into power. He said it in the open, that in order for him to do what he did, I'm talking of saving money and doing so many things, that he was able to cut down cost, because all these hangars, this is no longer governance. It's no longer governance.
I think it's important to make the point that there is Nigerian example. I mean, we've given so many foreign examples, but there is Nigerian example historically. One of the good examples is P2B as governor of Anambra State. I mean, I remember arriving on a British Airways flight once in London, just by coincidence. I was, and then I looked back and there was P2B. I said, where are you coming from? Where are you going? He said he's coming from Lagos. I said, no, we came from Lagos. We didn't see you on the plane. He said, you people were there. I was, and he was a serving governor going on an official assignment for Anambra State. If you go back even further in our history to Balewa, as Prime Minister, Balewa was to go on leave, and he traveled to Bauchi, his hometown, by train, in second class, not even first class. When he got to Bauchi, in the simple life, he was sitting on the floor with his children eating sugarcane. A British journalist was asking somebody, where is the Prime Minister? He said, that's his house there. If you go. He went in there was no second thing. He just walked in, met the Prime Minister,
and then back
the floor,
to
eating shake.
back to Balewa. It's also the point that I read a story about he's coming back from the office sometime, and then he saw the cabinet minister. He saw him at a roundabout, got home and asked that his car should come back and pick that person who was clearly very junior to him. What agonizes me as I speak with you is that even from primary school level, I have seen our children imbibing a situation where the winners take all. And you don't give a damn. Why should you be accountable? A situation where in the present dispensation, a governor or a local government or a wife to a governor exists and he has a retinue of aides. He goes ahead and even publishes cards. What does that tell you? The sense of shame is really gone and they are lost. Remember the story that goes around about the xylophone cup, where they say, yeah, you are in charge today. You are the head of state. You are the president. You are the senator. After 4 years, the reality sets in, and you are taken back to your real level. Almost invariably, you know what to find? Those people, they either have lost it, it's a sickness of the mind, and they are not able to hold on. Their children have been used, and they have been doing a lot of bragado concerning the fact that what the state has given to you to use diligently, you have converted it in a way and manner that you are now bleeding on the state.
What you just said is
even to salaries and allocations of salaries. How do you explain situations where within the limited confines of monies coming to a state, the first line will be the governor takes care of himself, the local government chairman takes care of himself, whatever is remaining, whether you want to talk about recurrent or, well, we're not even talking about capital now, to hell. So people are not given that duty of care. They don't care whatever it is that happens to you. Once they take their own, and you know why they do this? Because there's no consequence.
No, actually, where I'm going with
because there's no consequence.
Yes, it is. But where I'm going is, just a second. What I wanted to say is the same thing that Pat wrote on his book. Why politicians continue to be in office? They will do everything just to be there. You know why? Like you rightly said, when you have tasted honey and you never know how that honey came into your mouth, what you will do whatever it takes to make sure that nobody takes it away from you.
Because the poor people will see you as a hero.
Yes. So they
see you as a hero. Our time has come.
The fact is that we are glorifying these people for nothing. It's supposed to be a job. You do your job, you go home.
It is service.
That's what service.
Yes, I was going to intervene. I think we lost it because the civil service system has broken down.
Yeah, very important.
The general order, what used to be called almighty GO in those days, is still in existence.
And FI.
Same thing with the financial instruction. But the present civil service just abdicated it to the politicians.
Yes.
There are, for every action, there's a consequence in the GO and in the financial instruction. If only the civil service can wake up from its slumber and apply religiously the rules that have been set, I'm sure sanity.
I'd like to give an example that is often shared by Ambassador Dr. Fafura. Mr. Fafura was a senior civil servant, PAMSEC, whatever. He gave an example of a very popular, if you will, minister back in the Balewa government, who was very close to Balewa, who traveled to his hometown, Abeokuta. If I talk more, you will know who. And on the way, his car broke down, official car broke down, and he repaired it. They came and gave the receipt for the repairs to be processed. The permanent secretary, looking, found that that thing happened on a Saturday, on a weekend, and queried the minister for using his official car on a weekend. In the standards of the time, the minister was supposed to be removed from office for that. But Balewa was in a very bad position because this is one of his closest allies in a very turbulent period. He had to call the PAMSECs and beg them. So can we punish this minister by at least removing him to a smaller ministerial role instead of disgracing him by completely dropping him? He had to plead. The same country. Can you imagine that in today's Nigeria?
There's another good example. Mrs. Dere Awoshika, at one point in time, was being breathed in to do the wrong thing. In fact, virtually everything was going to go against her. The woman stood like an Amazon and said, I'm not going to do what is wrong. It's on records. Philip Asiodu attended a function. And Philip Asiodu was seated, came in early enough. The function did not start until about 40 minutes after. Of course, he got up and made a pronouncement that this is not what I expect, even from the corporate Nigeria. Whatever it is that is going to be your excuse, you got to have and keep to the time.
Okay, well, look at those remarkable lessons that have come out of this conversation from the Nigerian example. Let's go and see what people have to say of these things on the streets. We'll come back and take on some more. This very, very important subject matter. This is Patitos Gang, and we will be right back.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
I think in Nigeria, the kind of life we live is an extravagant one, particularly with our government officials, and we cannot afford it. For instance, what a House of Member takes home in a month is outrageous. You shouldn't be giving them allowances such as wardrobe, newspaper bills, and that. Just this week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, I read the news that was talking about Bajabia, what's that guy's name? Our House of Rep speaker, traveling with over 300 persons to Dubai. What for? On government fund. It's not right. I think the government should look into this, or people should hold them accountable. The cost of government is too high and it will affect us detrimentally in the near future.
We are back. This is Patitos Gang. Well, before we went on break, we were giving some very, very Nigerian examples of how things used to run well. So it's not just that Nigeria was always a terrible territory where people did not do things in an exemplary manner. We know now that back in the 60s, politicians tried to cut their coat according to their cloth, not even their size. Another very good example is, this motorcade thing that we talk about. I don't think politicians really understand this, or so-called powerful people in Nigeria. Nothing annoys Nigerians more than the siren. I mean, people, I was watching TV and I had TV commentators like on some major news channels, making points about, they come without their siren and they chase on. So I suddenly said, oh, you mean everybody has the same anger level? I mean, we were having a CVL walk the talk, and whoever he was passing. There wasn't really traffic. It was a Saturday morning in Victoria Island. The noise pollution would deafen you. He was going, I said, who is this? Eventually he came and he passed. And I said, what is the logic of this noise now? Obviously, the reason this character, whoever he was, lobbied for that position or canvassed or campaigned for it, whatever position he had, was so that he could disturb his neighbor. That was his primary motivation. If not, we thought people like Fashola showed an example. As governor, he didn't go around in sirens and all of that. Perhaps that the institutions would have moved further to prevent those things from happening. But we don't seem to have succeeded.
A lot of us have heard about Till Akindele. He's in his 90s now. He wrote that book, iconic book. As at the time, he stood his ground against the excess of Murtala Muhammad. In fact, virtually everybody was scared for his life.
So those are the simple servants of those days.
He just, I'm not going to do that. However, you know what? The world, even people who think they do wrong against you will speak for you on a particular day, because eventually the United Nations was going to give him an appointment. Everybody was scared to take it to Murtala. Philip Asiodu said, look, everybody was scared. At the end of the day, when Murtala Muhammad had, he got angry. Why will you? I might have retired Akindele unjustly, but I still insist that he's a good man. And that is the message. Cost of governance is high. We don't just mount it, we act it, and we must make sure we put them to account. They will not listen. Small thing. But let it be known that from the local government to state government to our representatives in the state and national assemblies, we pull them to account. I approached my local government chairman. It was like that before I got him. I was even discouraged. I kept at it. At the end of the day, when I saw him, and we had a discussion, I'm not come here for anything but to try and bring your attention to the fact that things are not working. He welcomed me and we took pictures. I shared it in social media. So that is the way it should be.
Back under the military, as a group, concerned professionals organized an event to hold the local government chairpersons accountable here at NIA. When they came, they were shaking. And everybody was terrified of them. When they came, they were really shaking, like, sorry, we didn't know we did. So citizens should know that they have a duty to do these things.
Yeah, I was going to come in again. How do we bring down the cost of government or governance? I think one of the starting points should be to, one, demystify government itself. The appointments are too large. The parastatals today are seen more like compensation for supporters, and we end up having duplicated parastatals, almost 520 or 502 parastatals. A committee was set up, that was the Oronsanye committee was set up to rationalize the parastatals, and it became like a war. 7 years down the line, nothing has been done concerning the Oresanye
The
report.
white paper on that and quite even on civil service.
Secondly,
reports,
like I mentioned, I think civil society needs to stand up and bring back to the fore the general order and the financial instruction. A lot of fresh people below 30 may not even know that there's anything called general. So we need to anoint these. Yes, these manuals should be anointed afresh and brought to public focus. Yes, for core robust debate.
Yes, there was a conflict.
If there's need to amend some part, maybe. But when it's thrown to general public that every citizen walking the streets of Nigeria is familiar with the content and the thrust of the general order
And their rights as citizens.
and the FI, that is financial instruction, we can boldly challenge our civil servants who live in our neighborhood.
Yeah, I really like what you just said because, in other words, you are saying that they need to be reoriented again. And there should be a manual. Before you sit on that seat, it existed and all that. Because if it exists now, I haven't seen it, although I wasn't in government. But the fact is that they have thrown that book aside. And when we talk about cost of governance, some people think we're talking about only the governance. No. Their aides are very, very, they spend a whole lot of money just for the fact that they are close to the government. One of the ways we can begin to curb this is to make sure there is accountability. There has to be budget. This is how much we, the government, is about to spend, on things that everybody should know. It should not just be a secret thing.
I think that we really, really owe our country a lot because the next generation depends on us. And every generation has a duty to make its shoulders available to the next to stand on so you can see tomorrow more clearly. Not to steal the future of the young by using the resources that belongs to them too in a kind of reckless way we're using resources today. Okay, it's time to go, and we hope that we can continue this conversation on Twitter, Facebook, and the handles that are running through the screen right now. And we hope we can see you next week. This has been Patitos Gang. Bye.